Hey everyone, Kevin Strauss. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time because I love watching gear videos and I love getting ideas on other kinds of setups that can be used. And I have a lot of different setups. I've been backpacking for 25 years. I got my start with NOLS, which is the National Outdoor Leadership School. So that's nols.edu. And when I did my first backpacking trip, it was a 3-week expedition up in Washington State, and my pack weight was 84 pounds at its heaviest. And I never want to carry a pack that heavy. So I've been trying to get lighter and lighter. I'm not like ultralight all the time, but I've gotten it pretty low. And I want to share with you 4 different setups that I use on a regular basis now, or that I've used in recent past. And the first is this 3-pound, actually sub 2-pound big 3 or big 4. So the big 3 and big 4 is your backpack, your sleeping system, so that's your pad and your sleeping bag or quilt, and your shelter. Okay, so this is a really old pack. It's pretty much retired at this point, but it's the Gossamer Gear G5 Hyperlight. And I love this pack. I got this pack probably 15 years ago or something. And it was, I got it for about $100. I think it was even like $80 on clearance. And it only weighs 8 ounces. Now I have since added some reinforcing material. But this is an 8-ounce backpack. And if you think an 8-ounce backpack of just, ripstop nylon isn't strong enough to take on a serious backpacking trip, I literally carried this backpack on a thru hike of the John Muir Trail, so 211 miles of the John Muir Trail, including a bear canister for the entire trip. So we did the trip in 2 weeks. It was actually, I think, 13 nights that we did the trip, and that was with a bear canister, the BV 500, the regular blue bear canister, for the entire time. So this pack handled it. Now, truth be told, I did have a full blowout of the shoulder strap, and I'll put some pictures in here that we had to sew. Luckily, a buddy of mine had a needle, and I had dental floss, and we sewed it up on trail about 7 days in, and it carried great the rest of the time. So getting right into this setup. So this is my extreme ultralight summer setup, and this is sub 2 pounds for the big 3 and about 2 pounds for the big 4. And I'll put all the weights and everything and the totals on the screen as I'm going through them. But to start, one thing I love about this pack, okay, it's a really large pack for starters. It's like 3,200 cubic inches. I can't remember all the liter conversion, but it's roll top, and it uses your closed cell foam sleeping pad as the frame. And I love this, and I wish a manufacturer would bring this back, because it is such an efficient way of carrying your sleeping pad without taking up too much volume and space. I don't like when it's really big and voluminous, but most sleeping pads, closed cell foam, you have to strap somewhere on the outside. I know a lot of people are using the inflatable pads now, but I got my start with closed cell foam, and I sleep great on closed cell foam. I actually sleep on my floor at home because it's really that comfortable for me. And it's been an evolution over time, but the closed cell foam, and you don't have to go super expensive to have the ultralight gear. Again, this backpack on clearance was less than $100, and this is a $10 blue sleeping pad from Walmart, and this only weighs 8 ounces. Okay, and this is full length. I know it's not super wide, but it is super light, and for me, it is actually comfortable. And this makes up the frame of this 8-ounce, now about 10-ounce backpack. It has 2 giant pockets on the side. You could put 2 2-liter bottles in each side pocket and a big pocket on the back. So that's the Gossamer Gear G5, which has been discontinued for a long time. And my shelter of choice for most trips is the 6 Moon Design Gatewood Cape. I love this. It also serves as rain gear and a pack cover. I think this is fantastic, especially when you know you're going to get pretty good weather. I think this came in at 12 ounces when I weighed it this morning, and I love this shelter. It's fantastic. 12 ounces multi-use, okay? So we've got 8 ounces for the sleeping pad, 12 ounces for the shelter, 8 ounces or really 10 ounces for your backpack. And in the summer when I know it's good weather, I can use this 4.3 ounce silk sleeping bag liner. And this works great down to like 65 degrees. And in summers in the mid-Atlantic, which is where I often am, that totally works for me. So just this simple little silk sleeping bag liner. But is that really realistic for your full weight of your shelter, sleep system, and backpack? And of course, you need some kind of tent pole or pole. The Gatewood Cape only requires one pole. So if I'm using trekking poles, I just have, these are black diamond poles. Again, I've had these for like, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. If I'm using trekking poles, these work great. Otherwise, I really love the 3 ounce not telescoping, the 3 ounce poles that you can get specifically for the 6 Moon Design shelters. And this is a 45-inch pole when it's put together. So it's important, I think it's also important to consider your full weight to set up your shelter and everything. So you got to have a pole. So that's 3 ounces if you're carrying it. And if you're not carrying it because it's a trekking pole, then that doesn't count in your base weight. This is a Polycro 1 ounce ground sheet, which I'm definitely putting under any kind of sleeping pad if I'm directly on the ground and I'm not like on a tent shelter floor. But this is just, window covering that I cut down to size. And of course, you got to have your tent stakes. Now, I've been using the shepherd hook. I made this little Tyvek case for it. I put the points in a little piece of cardboard. Now it's wrapped in duct tape. But I've been using these titanium shepherd hook tent stakes for, oh my gosh, I've had these for over 10 years and they work fantastic. I've had them on John Muir Trail. I've had them out in Sawtooth Wilderness, definitely up and down the East Coast. If I can't get them in the ground, I just use, small rocks or large rocks to add the weight, and I've never had a problem with that. So it's worked for me. Of course, I have the MSR groundhogs and the light groundhogs and everything, but these have worked well for me. This is what I carried on the John Muir Trail for 2 weeks, and that worked great as well. So the total weight of this ultralight summer system is like 3 pounds, and it didn't break the bank by any stretch. That Gatewood Cape is about, I don't know, $150, from 6 Moon Designs, and you can still get it today. So it's not, you don't have to go with the $600 tent to get a good shelter. Okay, so now we're going to do setup number 2 for my big 3, big 4, and this is a much more comfortable setup for me, and it can get me down to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe even 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'll explain why the difference there. So once again, I'm going with the Gossamer Gear G5 Hyperlight pack, which comes in at about 10 pounds with the modifications that I made. Add a couple more ounces if I was going to add on some hip belt pockets or shoulder strap pockets. But, again, 2 ounces onto a 10-ounce pack is not too much. And this backpack can work really well even with the BV500 Bear Volt, okay? Bear container. Okay, so again, I'm using the blue closed cell foam pad from Walmart for $10, and that comes in at about 8 ounces, and it's a great sit pad or everything else pad when you're around camp, all right? Once again, I am going with the 12-ounce 6 Moon Designs Gatewood Cape, multi-purpose item as your shelter tarp, your pack cover, and even a poncho. And this works great. I've used this on so many trips. I love this item. And then number 4 item is a sleeping bag. So this is the Western Mountaineering Summerlight 30-degree down sleeping bag. And this comes in at 19 ounces. I absolutely love this sleeping bag. I have used this sleeping bag. Again, this is an old item for me. I keep my gear for a really long time because I do tend to take really good care of it. And when this was brand new, actually for the first 10 years, this definitely kept me warm wearing, you know, basically just a hiking shirt and hiking shorts. This kept me warm down to 30 degrees, and it's rated as a 30-degree bag. And that really, to me, is its comfort rating for Western mountaineering. So for 19 ounces, this down sleeping bag is just crazy, crazy warm and comfortable. Okay, so the truth be told now, that this bag is over 10 years old. It's really about 15 years old now, and it doesn't quite hold the 30-degree temperature rating. I've tried all the different treatments and tried, you know, drying it and washing it, drying it, you know, according to Western Mountaineering's protocol, and it really doesn't hold the 30 degrees anymore. Maybe 40 degrees, but if I take that 4.3 ounce silk sleeping bag liner, then it definitely gets me down to 30 degrees, and that's pretty darn comfortable for a 19 ounce plus 4 ounce liner. 23 ounces is pretty good down to 30 degrees, and it packs really, really well. So that's my comfortable 4-pound Big 4 system with gossamer gear, the blue closed cell foam, the down bag, and the Gatewood Cape. Okay, so that's 4 pound. All right, what's next? Actually, back in 2016, I went ahead and stepped up and I bought the Z-Pack. Okay, this is the Arc Blast 60-liter backpack. And this comes in, I can't remember all the weights exactly, but with 2 gossamer gear hip belt pockets, the Z-Pack shoulder pocket, and another shoulder pocket. I think this one's from Gossamer Gear also. This backpack comes in at about 27, 28 ounces, and that, you know, includes a frame. And this is so comfortable. I've used this on pretty long hikes. I had a 7-day trip out in the Sawtooth Wilderness in Idaho, and it worked great. That was my maiden voyage of this backpack, and it just worked awesome. Okay, so with this so this is the system that I used in that Sawtooth backpacking trip back in 2016. So it's the Z-Pack Arc Blast 60-liter, which is just so super light, and stepped up to just the regular closed cell foam sleeping pad. So then I stepped up to a slightly more comfortable sleeping pad, which is this closed cell foam pad, okay? But then I still used, on that Sawtooth trip, I still used the 6 Moon Designs Gatewood Cape, and that worked great in the Sawtooth because I don't think it rained at all out there. So that was perfect. And again, that's 12 ounces. So we got 28 ounces for the backpack and 16 ounces, just about 16 ounces for the sleeping pad, 12 ounces for the Gatewood Cape. And on that trip, I used the Western Mountaineering 30-degree Fahrenheit sleeping bag, down sleeping bag. And that system is fantastic. This comes in at 19 ounces. So I'll add all that up for you on on the screen. And this system works absolutely fantastic. I mean, what a beautiful 5-pound base weight for your big 4 system. 5 pounds. I mean, that's fantastic for an extended trip. Now, again, I carried a Tyvek ground sheet for that trip. So this comes in at about 5 ounces. So, you know, that definitely adds a little bit of weight. I used trekking poles, so it doesn't add to any base weight. I used my same shepherd hook titanium tent stakes. And then this is a 2.2 ounce trash compactor bag. Even though this is the DCF is pretty waterproof, I'm kind of a freak about keeping my stuff dry, so everything goes in the trash compactor bag. And that is a 5-pound system that works absolutely fantastic. All right. So now let's go to the 4th system, which is the super comfortable, super protected 6-pound base weight for the big 4. Okay? And really, it's everything that you see here, plus one more thing. So the trade out is, instead of the Gatewood Cape tarp, I traded out for the 6 Moon Designs 1-person Trekker tent. I love this tent. It is fantastic for me. It is a silicone impregnated nylon, right? It's an older version, so it's got a bar that is separate. Which here, I'll just show you the separate bar. I think it is integrated now, but this tent is still being sold. It's about $250. Really easy setup. So this is the bar piece. I put a little reflector on it because I one time pulled this out at night and it went flying. And luckily I found it, but man, I am so glad I put the reflector on it now. I still use the shepherd hook tent stakes, and like I said, most of the time I am using trekking poles, but I do have 2 45-inch dedicated tent poles for the Trekker and other 6 Moon Designs tents. I really like their tents. They've worked well for me over the years. I actually used this tent on the John Muir Trail in 2014, and it worked fantastic, and we got some storms, but nothing too crazy when we were camping anyway. We got some good storms when we were hiking, but not so much when we were camping. And so this comes in at 24 or 27 ounces, something like that. So again, 27 ounces, let's say, for the tent, 19 ounces for the sleeping bag. If I want to go super full warmth, I add the sleeping bag liner, silk, for 4.3 ounces. We've got the 15-ounce closed cell foam sleeping pad, and then the Z-Pack Arc Blast backpack, 60-liter in DCF for another 27 ounces. So add up that big 4 and include, and that's about 6 pounds, which is a fantastic base weight for your big 4, including all the pockets, and then adding in the shepherd hook tent stakes, and that's all you need for some ultralight systems. So I hope this gives you some ideas on ways to get ultralight. Now, again, I got my Gossamer Gear backpack for under $100, but the Arc Blast from Z-Packs is coming in at like $360. So, you know, there's a big range, but sleeping pads don't have to get crazy expensive. Depends on what kind of a sleeper you are. I highly recommend a really good down sleeping bag system or quilt. Most people are going to quilts now, but then I think they find that that they're more comfortable on an air mattress. And now I'm seeing a lot of people adding another 3 or so ounces with the 1/8 inch closed cell foam pad to go under to protect it. But with a closed cell foam pad alone, like this one, the accordion style, it's never going to fail on you. Plus, you know, I've slept on rocks on that. Take it out during breaks. Lay all your gear out on it when you're setting up or breaking down camp. It just all works really, really well for me. And so those are just 4 different systems, from extreme ultralight summer at 2 pounds to full comfort 30 degrees expedition ultralight coming in at 6 pounds for your big 4. So I hope this was helpful. Love to hear what you guys like to use and how light you can get, or how comfortable you want to be, and what trade-offs you're willing to make. But I just wanted to share what I've been using for the past 15 or so years. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a journey, and I'm always looking to improve it, especially since this tent is kind of on it's ready to be retired after more than 10 years. So I hope this has been as fun for you as it has been for me to make it, and we'll see you on the trail. Peace, love, and connect.